This is Leigh Steinberg on Sports. Leigh Steinberg, the pioneer of sports and entertainment, the world's preeminent sports agent. It's Sports USA's Leigh Steinberg on Sports.
Thank you for listening to and downloading Leigh Steinberg on Sports. You can find us on sportsusamedia.com, Podcast One, that's podcastone.com, on iTunes and the TuneIn app for your smartphone. I am Brandon, and let's welcome Leigh Steinberg to the show. Hi, Leigh.
Good afternoon, Brandon.
How is everything going over there in Newport Beach?
Things are good. First of all, congratulations on your engagement. Let our listeners know we have someone heading towards matrimony.
So let's start with the NCAA dual ruling with the Ed O'Bannon case and the Power 5 conferences. Now, you've got a lot of opinion, a lot to say about that.
We had two rulings in the last week that will change the nature of college sports forever. That cracking sound you hear is the whole control factor that the NCAA has had for 115 years changing. So the strength of those schools and conferences is so disproportionate in terms of what they're able to draw from television, from stadia, from ticket revenue, from marketing, from memorabilia, from sponsorships, that they exist on a different level. But now these super schools can offer a 4-year scholarship. So if you take a young man coming off a high school campus and he's got his choice, those super schools are going to have the ability to really swoop up all the top players in the country. It will create a situation where the schools who are not in that top 65 will have a decision to make whether they want to try and compete, especially in football and also in basketball. And if they do, where's the money going to come from? We had the Ed O'Bannon case, which has been going through the court system for quite a while. Ed O'Bannon claimed that Electronic Arts used his uniform, his facial features in a video game they did. And he claimed that college athletes ought to have the right, when their name, likeness is used commercially, to get recompense, to get money for that. And a judge ruled that he was right, that it was antitrust violation and a restraint of trade to not compensate the athletes. It won't happen overnight, but this is the embryonic stage of a total restructure where the NCAA either completely reshapes the ways that it regulates college sports or it goes by the wayside.
Now let's switch topics. The MLB commissioner ruling. Of course, we need a successor to Bud Selig. He is stepping down in 2015. Who do you think is going to be the next successor to Bud Selig?
Rob Manfred. As a matter of fact, by the time our listeners are hearing this podcast, I'm sure he will have been proclaimed as the next commissioner. And that makes sense because under the reign of Bud Selig, although there were some bumps at the very beginning of it, baseball has flourished. The revenues from MLB, if you take it from the 1994 strike-shortened season, where attendance dropped 40%, the next year it was a real blow to baseball. Those revenues have quadrupled. They've created a Major League Baseball network. They've done incredible things on social media. They have fantasy baseball. They've created incredible television revenue, both at the league-wide level and locally. They are rolling in cash.
Of course, Donald Sterling now no longer owner of the Clippers. It is Steve Ballmer finally taking ownership. The sale is complete. Now, 2 questions for you. First question being, what changes do you think he will make, or does he need to make, to change the dynamic now of the organization?
The very fact that Steve Ballmer was confirmed as owner in a private vote that the other owners did a few days prior brings peace to what has been a very troubled situation. But he's going to get a grace period here where people are just so happy to have an end to controversy, endless lawsuits, and all the rest of it, that this will be these first months until the games are played, he's going to be treated as a hero.
Now, switch topics to Arizona State offensive lineman Chip Seraphin. Recently came out now as the first active openly gay player in major college football. Let's talk a little bit about that.
In the fight for tolerance, where we judge people by the quality of their character or as an athlete, their performance on the field, this just is one more positive chip in moving forward and moving past this. I've said that once this first wave of players comes out in 5 years, we won't remember that this was ever a big issue.
Do you foresee the Oakland Raiders coming back to Los Angeles?
You know that my position has been pretty consistent on this, which is I do not favor teams leaving a market where they're supported. Now, I would love to have a football team in Southern California. Our problem in Southern California has been we haven't had a civic leader who's been willing to step forward and be the point of reference and the point of leadership to negotiate and represent Southern California.
And now to close out the show, we want to pay tribute to one of the greatest comedians and actors of our time. We're talking about Robin Williams. I want to ask you, Leigh, what was your favorite memory or moment or movie of Robin Williams?
Well, first of all, I knew Robin, and he was a transformational ball of warmth and laughter and love. It's much more than just a comedian.
So rest in peace, Robin Williams. And we want to thank everyone for listening to and downloading Leigh Steinberg on Sports. You can find us on sportsusamedia.com, podcast one, that's podcastone.com, on iTunes and the TuneIn app for your smartphone. Follow Leigh on Twitter and Facebook at Leigh Steinberg, and buy his book, The Agent, on Amazon.com and wherever books are sold. Is there anything you want to say to the fans before we sign off?
I do my first radio show on Yahoo Radio.
Monday, right?
Monday the 18th on 8 o'clock Eastern Time, which is 5 o'clock out here in the West. And so I've done a couple of them before. I did KCBS in San Francisco, and so it's just another way to experience behind the scenes. But we'll always be right here for you on our Fireside Chat, which is our podcast.
This is Leigh Steinberg on Sports.